First on the stage, can we get a big round of applause for Linnea Dupree? Next on the stage, we have Willie's Paint and Print. Next on the stage, we have the dancing TikTok bard, Kurt Stranger. Coming up next, we have the crafting challenge runner-up. Hey, Good. Next on the stage, we have Katiosaurus. Can we get a big round of applause for the Panda Red? All right, so this panel is all for you guys. So whoever has a question, you can address it to one or all of them. Just raise your hand. I'm going to come over. We're going to ask questions. So who wants to be the first? Ooh, okay.
Round of applause for the first question.
So this one's more for Panda, but realistically anybody can answer. Do you think Warner Brothers is like afraid to do Robin in live action in films?
Yes. that is true. I 100% think that they are terrified to put a child in a movie and go like, oh yeah, put him in front of a gun. That's totally recognizably okay, right? Because anything that you put on a movie, they kind of, if it's from the hero's perspective, they're kind of worried that they're going to be promoting it as like a good thing. They're going to be endorsing the idea. And they don't really want that. At least in my mind, I think it's kind of, and also, Robin's kind of a silly character to begin with, so the idea of it, like, the Batman is usually taken in sort of a dark direction and a dark and realistic direction. So this dark and realistic character all of a sudden adopting a 13-year-old and being like, dress in bright colors and go fight crime with me, is a little bit more ridiculous than a lot of stories are able to handle. So I think that the fear is kind of there, but I feel like if it's done correctly, it can be overcome.
What is the video just stands out in your mind like, hey, I think I got something here?
So, mine would be my first 16 million viewed video. I was not prepared for that video at all. I had reached, maybe 10,000 or so on just some of my makeup tutorials or my photography work. But I made a really stupid video, honestly. It was very dumb, and I was just pretending to be a judgy character, and that was the one that blew up. And it really changed the course of what I was doing. I stopped, just pitching my makeup and photography work and started pitching more comedy stuff.
I would say what my big video is that I made my Venom Pool statue, which is actually at the booth if anybody wants to see it. I've realized there's a lot of people just doesn't understand how easy it can be to create things, and I basically wanted to now be able to say, you know what, I can inspire people to show people how to make these things that I'm making right now. Because a lot of people are either just intimidated or just don't know how to, and it was a really cool concept seeing the video blow up how it is, and again, it's really neat just to see how people enjoy trying to create things.
Mine would be the first character that I ever used, or the first video that I ever used the dancing bard character in. I had found a mashup on TikTok, and I had this goofy idea. And the cool thing about it was I was just having a lot of fun with the videos, and those are the videos that people really responded to and people asked to see more of. And it's really nice because there's so much of myself in those videos, so it's very nice to see that there's a response to it.
Hello, I'm Hey Good. For me, it was, I had like 12 followers. I downloaded TikTok because of the pandemic. Thank you for starting my timer because I have no perception of time. I was having a really bad time with my ADHD. And ADHD is very often characterized in popular media as like a zany disorder that makes you quirky and like the fun friend. But there's a lot of anger and suffering and awfulness that comes with it. So I was having a particularly bad day, and I just thought I just need to describe this for the, like, I need to describe this just for me, like, to have it on record. And so I described what it was like to try to take your trash out with ADHD. It's like an amalgam of like 10 different back and forth tasks before you eventually forget what you were trying to do in the first place. And then I took a nap and woke up and it was at like 100,000 views, and then it reached like 1 million by the next day. So that was a big one, just the response to that. And the next one was my crafting videos, where growing up as a kid, I could never sleep, ever. I would watch the sun come up all the time. And I would watch YouTube videos of people making stuff, and I always loved the feeling of watching somebody make something and then realizing that I had all the stuff that I needed to make that thing myself. You know, I didn't have to go to the store. And so when I started doing ADHD crafting challenges, where I started trying to make stuff that was told to me out of weird materials, there was a huge response to that of people who I think felt similarly. Like, I've always wanted to make stuff, but I never felt like I had the right materials at the correct amount of time. And so I'm sort of trying to preach the idea that, like, hey, you always have crafting materials. Like, if you have paper clips, you got crafting materials. You know, index cards, you got crafting materials. So the response to that was really humbling, and that's when I sort of decided to go more in that direction, plus ADHD. Anyways, it was a fun time. Minute 30, that's not too long, right? She's really worried.
I've seen it happen. Hi everybody, I'm Katie Source. My answer is twofold. So the first video that I really ever had pop off was at the time on TikTok there was this trend that was like, things in my blah 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 house that just make sense. And people would show off like the cool facets of their house, but the thing was that everybody's house always looked like a magazine. It was like a Pinterest perfect house. And I have ADHD and depression, and so I live in a house that kind of looks like a trash monster lives there. It's me, I'm the trash monster. And so I just basically made a video kind of roasting myself. I was like, things in my ADHD house that just make sense. And the response to it was overwhelming. I was not expecting it to pop off, and it got millions of views in the first couple of days, and all of the comments were the same. They were all, I've never seen anybody admit to having a house like mine. I've never seen a house like mine. I've never heard anybody talk about like having ADHD and how it affects their house. So that was kind of like the first part, and I was like, oh, maybe there's something here. Maybe this is something I can talk about. And then the real answer is the first time that I ever said it. If you don't want to see this kind of content, grab a fruit snack on the way out, because it's defined my entire career at this point. So yeah.
I'm gonna go back to my dumb comedy videos about comic books. The first video that really popped out for me was a video that I made that basically I kind of ripped off another creator on accident. There was a video that I saw on TikTok that was the first guy to get beat up by Batman, and he was explaining how ridiculous that would be to explain to people. And I said, I'm alone and sad in my apartment right now because it is COVID and I'm in college. So let's make a joke out of this. And turned it into the first guy to get beat up by Robin, which is so much worse. And before that, I had an art page that I really was just posting so that I would consistently keep drawing over the summer. And I'm like, oh, I can make this like really brief comedy video. That'd be funny. And then the day before that, I had filmed a video joking about how the hell am I going to get to 3,000 followers because I don't really have anything to offer. And then I made that video, went to sleep, and I woke up with 10 and went, oh shit. Okay. How are we going to capitalize off of this? And that was really the first time that I'm like, okay, well, I have a formula. Now I just need to keep hitting this dead horse until it stops printing views.
This is for everyone. What is your favorite thing that you've created on your channel?
My favorite thing? Oh, I mean, this might be a roundabout loophole answer, but the community that I have built. My followers are so amazing. I mean, the community, and I think what's so special about TikTok is that it shows the realness of people. And you know, I never come on my TikTok with perfect makeup and you know, ready to go. A lot of what I do is really kind of all over the place, and people accept me for that, and people appreciate that and love that. And you know, I have like repeat customers, you know, people that always, as soon as I post, they're on there commenting, waiting for my post.
and I've had messages saying how my posts have gotten through people through certain things, and I think really just building the community. I know it's a roundabout answer, but that's my answer.
I'm actually going to branch off a little bit of that. The community that has been evolved from the channel Willie's Paint and Print. At first, it was just me making things in my 2-bedroom apartment in New York City, Queens, and then all of a sudden, I've met some great people. I met all these guys. I mean, Eric and I had some fun here on stage. I became friends with like Emily the engineer and Frankly Built. And just seeing the community of just the maker community just evolve to what it is. I mean, you've seen so many people with now Iron Man helmets and just crafts that they're doing. And the 3D printing community just has blown up over the years to the point where now it's now a huge community where we now branch off of my idea and this idea, and it's really cool. It's really seeing how everything has evolved over time and meeting some great people, like these fellow panelists here.
They stole my answer as well, but I'm gonna say I make a lot of pretty ridiculous things into props for my videos. And that's the thing that I enjoy making the most, is having the axe that I use be a plunger, or having my helmet be a pasta strainer. Because I think it's a unique thing about TikTok as a platform is that there's a very low barrier to entry for TikTok, and it's so much easier, I think, to just be yourself on that platform.
So I think I like being a person who makes stuff in my videos. So like, I feel like my favorite thing that I've made in a video, I think is something called a Fin John. So in my crafting challenges video, Katie will give me something to craft and some restrictions on how I'm allowed to do it. So she'll say like, make an umbrella out of only paper, a full-sized umbrella. This challenge was I had to make a 30-minute timer that accurately measured 30 minutes, that dinged at the end of the 30 minutes, and I could only use non-electrical materials that I could get at Goodwill in 15 minutes. So I had to like, dash into Goodwill, just grab stuff, and then I had an hour and a half to actually make the thing. So I made what's called a Fin John, which is this ancient timekeeping device, which is essentially a bowl with a hole drilled in the bottom of it that sits in water. And depending on the size of the hole, the weight of the bowl, it sinks at a very predictable rate. So they used to use this to divvy up irrigation systems for agriculture. So they would put the bowl in, and when it sank, the next farm got the water. And so I made this thing, so it was basically a big tube full of water with a pint glass with a hole in it, and it would sink in exactly 30 minutes. And as it sank, it would pull a string that removed a little wedge that was suspended in between two upside down wine glasses, so that when it pulled beneath, the wine glasses would go ding! And I believe it was 30 minutes and 10 seconds. So that, I think, is probably my proudest craft that I've ever made in a video. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Also, FENJAAN, if you'd like.
For the record, that is one of my favorite crafting challenges that you have done, just so you know.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Everyone is giving really wholesome answers, and now I'm just going to be really honest because Leroy Jenkins, I guess. Kind of speaking to other people's answers, mine is my OnlyFans. Because, and here is why, because I started talking about relationships and intimacy and how neurodivergency can affect relationships online. And the feedback I kept getting was astronomical. It was people said, I never knew that ADHD could affect my relationships. I never knew that ADHD could affect intimacy. But TikTok is kind of notorious for being very picky about what it will and will not let you say on the platform. And so I got tired of speaking in code. And so I just kind of looked at my community and I said, hey, if you like this kind of content, grab a fruit snack and come on over to OF. And it really took off. And what has been really powerful about that is that it's been an exercise in self-acceptance. It's been an exercise in body positivity. It's been an exercise in just getting to educate and advocate for a type of education that I really believe in and I really believe is powerful and really important. And it also has allowed me to do this for my job. And so it's one of, I think, the more like strange answers, but it's also one of the things that I'm most grateful for, because I don't think without the community I would have ever had the courage to do it at all. And now it's like one of my favorite parts of my job. So that's my answer.
Okay, so I want to not be boring and not say community, desperately, really desperately, because it's now been said 5 times and I want to be original. And honestly, from the jump, I can't honestly say that actively every day that's the proudest thing I've ever made, the best thing that I can think of. Because honestly, until I flew over here, the idea of having fans that actually watch my content was a foreign idea. It's like, yeah, that number keeps growing, but those aren't real people. That's just the internet. That's, I don't know, that's that tech thing that I can hear older people talking about. I'm not sure. But then thinking about it again, I rely on my community a lot. I don't really defend myself or my beliefs or any of my things that I say in the comments of my videos, because I know that my community has my back, and I know that the community that I have is an extremely accepting and loving group of people. I know that I don't personally have to be the one to stand up to people being dicks in the comments, or people being bad, or any of that sort of thing. And I also know that I have like my Discord, my Patreon, and a whole group of people that actively encourage each other and grow each other's love in the medium that I love so much. And while I don't actively think about it every day, and while I don't actively like praise all of my fans all of the time, it's genuinely the best thing that I have ever created. And honestly, it's not really my creation. It's just the fans themselves made it. I just make the dumb content they all laugh at and joke about. I'm their common point of reference. So, I mean, through my videos, I would say that's my favorite thing that I've created, but also I don't regard it in myself as creating it, because also that just feels wrong to say. Like, it feels weird to say that. Especially, it's even weird to say that I myself have a community. So I would say that with quotes around it.
So you all create a lot of content on TikTok, but you also have to watch TikTok. So what are your favorite styles, sounds, or trends to watch on TikTok?
I want to say my favorite trend is usually the one right before the one that's the most popular at the moment, because I get in at the very tail end of it and hate it for a while and then go, okay, it's growing on me. Okay, I kind of liked it. And then all of a sudden, it's not the trend anymore. I'm like, God damn it, what's this new shit that I have to learn now? And then I don't like that. So, I enjoy the ones that really take a lot of effort and thought to do. The more impressive something is to actually create, the more, as a trend, I really enjoy. The Adult Swim intros that were really popular for a while were really, really cool, because a lot of people found a lot of really creative ways to do that. I'm not sure I really have any favorite sounds, because I always just end up making my own sounds on TikTok, and my For You page isn't really representative of the stuff that I make. So I don't usually have favorite sounds, but my favorite trends is just the creative ones, the ones that you have to have a lot of creativity and thought to actually be able to pull off.
Rug cleaning videos. No, I mean, rug cleaning videos, honestly, but any of the videos where it's like a restoration, or they're like fixing something, I just think that's like fascinating. Like, I love watching like art restoration, or there's a guy who restores like old toys and stuff like that. I love those videos because my For You page is really interesting, because I ultimately had to get a secret burner account, because my entire For You page was just all ADHD all the time, and it was exhausting. So I have a secret burner account that nobody knows about, and that's where I like go for like my like art restoration and like nerd videos.
If any of you finds it, no, you fucking didn't. Okay? You are all bound to secrecy now.
I mean, I think TikTok is such an amazing experiment in human attention and interest. Because you could never say to somebody like, hey, I'm a rug cleaner. It's like, oh wow, millions of people want to watch you do your job, but like now, clearly people do. So off the top of my head, without rambling, I love music collabs. where there's like a cat that makes a noise, and then like a bassist will play like a bass line under it. Like, this just kind of slaps, you know? And then like a drummer will do it, and then all of a sudden there's like a 50-piece jazz band like playing a song to like this cat meow. I love stuff like that. I love expert videos because I think a lot of people who are absolute experts in their field don't get to talk about it in a large public space because they don't have a publicist who can get them on the Discovery Channel or something. But now you get, somebody will ask some question about like, how does this vocalist do that weird technique? And then somebody who didn't have a platform formally could say like, oh, I've actually spent my entire life learning about this, and here's an explanation. So I love that, just those answered questions. I love when people explain things that people commonly don't have language to explain, because then it's like, oh, I've been trying to describe that my whole life. This person finally put it into words. I find that very useful. I like people who have problems to solve and then solve it. Like, I wanted to do this thing, but I didn't know how, so here's how I did it. I love those kinds of stuff. And obviously, uncut jobs. Uncut jobs.
I use a lot of mashups in my videos. I love mashups. I love a lot of the mashup videos and the content you can find on TikTok. I also really enjoy like dancing channels like the Basement Gang. That's where I find a lot of like the audios that I use for stuff. And I'm a sucker for the education content. I really like the science videos as well.
So, going off, branching off Katie over here, the restoration videos, hands down. I mean, it's something is so satisfying putting a big piece of metal that has rust on it and putting it in a vat and then pulling it out and it's nice and clean and just having that, something about that. Animal videos, I mean, Gussie, the Basset Hound, there's something about it when they say praise the fruit. it's hysterical. And just how-to videos, because you can always learn something throughout the day, honestly. It doesn't matter what you can be, what you can do something. You can go ahead and watch a video and be like, oh, I need to, for some reason, need to clean a carpet. And all of a sudden, now I know how to clean a carpet. It's a full of energy and also full of information that you can just learn some aimless things. And all of a sudden, 5 years down the line, you accidentally spilled something on your carpet. Now to clean it up. Now you know how, thanks to TikTok. My For You page is all full of just those type of shenanigans.
So I kind of have a cool experience where I have multiple For You pages. So I have my personal page that I spend most of my time on, but I'm also a ghostwriter for other TikTok pages. So I have like unique pages for each thing that I really look at. Like I work for a jewelry company posting UGC content for them, and so a lot of it is like making things and DIY and all that stuff. But on my main page, I'm a sucker for the makeup stuff. I love the comedy skits that people make. Similar to what he said, is just if you really know the people that take a lot of time to create what they're creating. I mean, it's really amazing to see some of the film content, filmmakers that maybe aren't busy doing a movie right now, and they just make this one little minute video of something that's really cinematic. I mean, I just think that is so unique that we have the experience to see artists, both making simple videos on how to, and then on the other side of it, really artistic, put a lot of effort into a TikTok. So I like being able to see everything.
This one's for Panda. Where did you get the idea for Batman Stole My Bones?
I knew this was gonna pop up eventually.
So there wasn't really a dedicated idea for that. It was really just, how can I think of the most brutal thing that this man can do that isn't killing someone, that isn't technically murder. So it was like, oh, he could like break his legs, but any superhero can break a bad guy's legs. So all I'm thinking about is like, oh, what if Batman did something literally scientifically impossible? Like, what if it didn't make any sense? What if the joke is that what? What do you mean? Like, that's really where the joke came from, is just the utter confusion of, what does that even mean? What do you mean he stole your bones? That doesn't make any sense.
How do you guys get out of your
creative ruts before getting into another project?
I have to take a break. As like full-time content creation for multiple pages, I make it my mission to make as many TikToks as humanly possible, you know, to save them in my drafts, because I go through, so I also have bipolar, and sometimes, you know, those mood swings hit and I cannot create, and that's just a place that I will be in. So I have to take on, you know, those extra backup you know, videos that I've already pre-made, and that's, you know, for 2 weeks straight. I think at one point I was only posting these drafts that I have had saved, but that really saves me, is just taking a step back. That, and also just studying up on TikTok, like what is everybody else doing? So taking a break and also just checking in on everybody else.
I'm gonna be completely honest. When it comes to content creating, I slack a little bit. Based on everybody that's probably up here, I have probably 10% the amount of videos that they have. And the reason behind that is there are times that you don't feel inspired to make a video. And you could be watching a movie one day and like, oh, you know, that's a good idea. Maybe I want to make that, or I want to do something similar to that. And basically for me, it's like I always, when I watch a movie or watch a show, or for an example, I'm making a Dead Space helmet because the fact is like the new Dead Space game is coming out and I really want to make something for Dead Space. And sometimes I make content because of the fact that like I get questions on Instagram or even my email and just says, hey, how do you do this? And I'm like, you know what, maybe that's not a common knowledge of doing something. Maybe I'll just make a video of how to do that or something. But I mean, there's been times where I just don't make a video for a month or two. It's just because of the fact I'm not feeling inspired at that point, and it's okay. It's more of an idea of just quality, really, for me. But I mean, everybody else makes some good, funny crap. I can tell you that now. But I will say that I pretty kind of slack off a little bit of the amount of TikToks I end up making.
Your Rocky video was amazing, though. Yeah, that was great.
Just so you know, I almost turkey drowned myself when I put the water on me. I literally had my mouth open. I almost drowned myself.
That's commitment.
I'm very lucky that the videos that I make are the videos that I have the most fun making. And I've noticed that as I've been a content creator now for almost a year, 11 months now, when I start to not have fun with the video anymore, when I keep like banging my head against a wall because I think I have a good idea and it's not turning out the way I want it to, that's when I tend to get stuck. And that's not only when I tend to get stuck in that video, it's when I tend to get stuck in all the videos that I'm going to make for that week. So taking a step back from that particular video that I'm working on, or finding an audio or a trend that is just silly and goofy and fun, and I don't care about necessarily making it good, I care about having fun with it again. And then that's the video that'll start to do really well again, and then it'll remind me of why I started doing this in the first place. So just reminding myself, going back to the reasons why I started doing these videos, and dancing in a goofy way in the attic of my apartment.
I make bad videos. I do. Well, being a person who talks about mental health a lot, and people who, or being a person who talks about all or nothing thinking, basically if I'm not going to do a perfect job, then I'm not going to do it. The way that I get myself to do anything that I'm avoiding, cleaning my room, doing the dishes, writing an email, is usually I'm avoiding it because I have a perfect version of it in my head that I'm afraid of not making, and so I don't make it at all because I'm so afraid that it's not going to be amazing. And so I'll deliberately set out. I'll take a video idea, my massive notes sheet of video ideas, and I'll just say, I'm going to make a bad version of that video. Like, just to commit, because if I do it and then I finish the video and it's bad, that's exactly what I meant to do, you know, so it's a success. And 90% of the time, it ends up being pretty good. So to take the pressure off of myself from being perfect, I'll deliberately set out to do a bad job, and it always ends up being better than I thought. Fun fact, you can also use that with chores and emails and whatnot. It's not just for content. Just I'm going to do a bad version of this, because doing a bad version of anything is better than not doing it at all. So that helps me.
I promise this answer will make sense at the end. So I have 2 master's degrees in Shakespeare. And part of getting my master's was I was in a touring company, and we would show up at high schools at approximately 8:30 in the morning to perform like Romeo and Juliet. Spoilers, high schoolers don't want to see Romeo and Juliet at 8:30 in the morning. Nobody does. But that was my job for almost 2 years. And so what I started doing is I started looking for the one kid. Because when I was in school, I was the one kid. I was the kid who would like get excited at the visiting artist, or I would get excited about the Shakespeare troupe or whatever. And I would find that one kid in the audience who like started out like this, and then he would be like this, and then by the end he was, I've had kids jump up and try to intercede in the death of Macbeth because they were so like invested.
Spoilers.
Oh no, spoilers, sorry. And so it doesn't exist. And so when I started making content and I started struggling, especially because I talk about mental health, it can be really upsetting when your past 10 videos get 100,000 views or 200,000 views, and then this one video that you really cared about gets 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000. But I kind of thought if 3,000 people showed up on my lawn tomorrow and cared about what I had to say, that would be weird. How did they find out where I lived? But also, that's really important. Those 1,000 views, those 50 views, those 10 views, those are still 10 people that you have the ability to impact and help and educate. So when I'm struggling with content, I just remember doing bad Romeo and Juliet at high school, and I make my video for the one person who needs to hear it. And if 1 million people hear it, great. But I'm doing it for one person who might not know the thing that I'm teaching that day, and that helps me a lot.
So that was really deep and profound, and now we're going to get into my really kind of shitty answer. The way that I make content is everything is off the cuff. Everything is improvised. I don't write down any content ideas. I don't have like what you have, which is probably a good idea, which is like a note sheet of video ideas. If I think of a funny idea and I don't feel funny that day, tough. That video is never going to be made now. It is very much off the cuff. So whenever I get into ruts, whenever I get into segments where I don't make videos, that's just because I wasn't feeling funny that day, or maybe I didn't have anything profound to say about a comic book, or maybe I didn't have anything that I could think of that would make this interesting. But the days that I do, the person I'm making content for has never changed. It is, I make content that makes me laugh. And if I can't make myself laugh, if I can't find what I'm making funny, if I can't personally enjoy the content that I'm making in the moment that I'm making it, whether that be what the end product is going to be like or the process of making it itself, then I'm not going to put it out. I'm never going to put it out. Because if you're making content specifically, if you're making content that you yourself don't enjoy, then why are you making content? That's where my thought process comes from. I want to make content that I would enjoy watching, or content that if someone else was putting it out, it wouldn't be any different for me. And that is usually the thought process I have to be in to make a video. And sometimes that means I will roll out of bed at 8 in the morning and be like, I had a funny idea for a video, and then make something with crust still in my eyes, my hair undone, and still in my pajamas. And sometimes that means it's getting into full cosplay and doing a video. But if I'm not feeling a day where I'm not gonna make a video, that's okay. The reason you have followers is so that they'll come back. If you're constantly chasing the follower count, if you're constantly chasing the likes all the time, then it becomes an issue. Then it becomes not making your videos for you anymore. And that's what I started making videos for, and that's what keeps me going when I start making content, especially when content starts getting dry, or like we fall into a rut or something. So that's my way of thinking about it, at least.
Who is the most useless, pointless superhero that y'all can think of? For me, it's Arm Fall Off Boy.
How dare you, for one. I don't think that any of the superheroes that are made are useless or boring characters. My entire series of League of Regrettable Superheroes is 100% dependent on the base that there is no bad superhero, or that every superhero is interesting in a certain way, and that there is no there's no instance where this character shouldn't have been created. Even if the character is cringy, even if the character like is really in bad taste, that is a character that now exists, so now someone else can't make it down the line. There's no instance where a character, that the creation of a character ends up making it bad. I feel like there are instances in the story where characters can be kind of like Dynamite Thor is a character I just talked about whose only thing is blowing himself up. That's funny. That's where it's like, even if the character wasn't initially intended to be funny, it is now a comedy bit, and that's funny and that's cool. And that is where I'm like, even with Arm Fall Off Boy, you know who he is, don't you? That automatically gives it some level of value, especially with, even if you're laughing at him, even if you're turning him into the butt of a joke. That's something. That's something that you didn't have before, and I find that really nice.
Who is your favorite TikToker or like favorite content creator in general, and what do you love most about their content?
My favorite TikToker is Mercury Stardust. She's a trans handyman. And she also has, she does a lot of like burlesque up in Michigan. And she's just like one of the nicest, kindest people I've ever had the opportunity to meet. I love what she stands for. I love how she represents her community. And her work is really important. Like she's now traveling around and like helps people in like really profound ways. And I think that's really cool that TikTok gave her a platform where she's now able to do that. And she's like writing a book and stuff. It's like, I'm just so happy for her. Like she's incredible. I love her so much. Mercury Stardust. Follow her immediately.
Gosh, there's so many people I'm forgetting right now. And it's so hard to remember the actual name on TikTok. Like you'll remember their face, but like there are people I've known for
should have said, to be perfectly honest. This entire time I'm thinking about pulling out my phone and seeing what my For You page so I can understand the names. I'm like,
that's what I was just doing. My favorite TikToker is Katie, because Katie's a TikToker and she's my favorite person. So naturally, I know that's sweet. That was the biggest awe I've ever gotten. I know that's like sweet, but that's just true. I mean, Hank Green is obviously incredible. Kavadik is incredible. Your pal Austin, I think, is a genius. It's your _pal _Austin. He's a musician. He's just a genius. He's going to be over in 5 years. He's incredible. I don't know. I'm pretty great too. Hey Goop, go follow me. HUYTUDE. Get that plug.
I spend way too much time on TikTok, so that's way too difficult of a question. There are so many amazing creators on TikTok. I don't know that I could name just a few of them here. What I will say, if I'm being completely honest though, is that I feel a little bit like a kid in a candy store right now because I am on stage with many of my favorite creators from TikTok. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, but which ones though?
I want an itemized list here. Who let you have the mic again? I'm probably gonna show my hand a little bit right here, but it's just like, they're absolutely right. First of all, yeah, they're absolutely right. Sometimes you just scroll through and it's just like the name just flies right past you, and it's just like it. But honestly, and I think I followed him online a little bit, honestly too, it was Charlie Classic. And the reason why is because one of his videos, all his videos, it's just, granted the subject of them is interesting, but it's also the humor of that goes behind it. He just doesn't care, he loves posting stuff, and he has fun with it. And I think that's the most important thing I think we all can honestly say, is that we have fun with your videos. You have the most fun. I mean, exactly when I did the Rocky video, when I was calling out Eric over here and everything, when I almost turkey drowned myself. It's just like, you have fun with it. And that's, I think, what the most important about it, and that's what I think I enjoy the most about him, is that no matter what subject, whatever subject he wants to do that day, he has so much fun with it, regardless of what type of, like, what kind of comments he ends up getting, honestly.
Same as these guys. I watch so many people, and a lot of people I do not remember what their usernames are. But particularly the one that I always go back to is Michaela Nugent. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She's a makeup person. I follow her
And I watch every single video she does because just her genuine attitude and personality is just so meaningful to me. It's someone that I can see a little bit myself in, and it just, you can really connect to people like that. But I think the main reason, why we watch TikTok is either the entertainment, the education, or the experience. And I think that the usernames that I don't remember right now, all the people that provide all three on their page are the people that I'm always the most drawn to. Just walking around and talking to these people. These people, it takes effort, it takes energy, it takes, standing around on a concrete all day long for all these stores to be here. So those people are really, really the highlight of the whole thing.
I think one of the moments that hit me the hardest was the first day I showed up at like 9 o'clock, which was earlier than I thought this place opened, and walking up to my booth and seeing there was already a line. That was about the exact moment that my brain realized, holy shit, these people are real. That is gonna stick with me forever, because that's the first indication that like, no, these people really want to see you, like really want to see specifically you, and it felt, it did feel good, it just still feels very strange to come to terms with in my brain. So that, it is genuinely, like, again, it's kind of like the community answer, being like, interacting with fans, because that wasn't real until this weekend, so. That's just really cool. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, this has been my first convention that I have ever been to. So there's been a lot of cool things. It's been great. Thank you for having me. Walking around and seeing all of the amazing things. It's been awesome. Looking at all the amazing cosplay. It's been awesome. I feel like I'm saying awesome a lot, but it's just been an awesome weekend. It's been really cool to be here and to be able to see everyone and talk to everyone. So, no, the whole weekend really has been a highlight for me.
So for me, I think the most important people, the people that I think about whenever I make content, are kids in high school, because high school is rough, and you're trying to figure out who you are, and all the adults are telling you, like, what do you want to be? And you're like, can't I just be who I am right now? Like, is that okay? So getting to talk to people in high school at the booth and just being like, hey, you're doing fine. You're great, Andy. Shout out to Andy. Everybody, round of applause for Andy. And this is also, I had quite a bump in like my audience between our last convention and this one. And so this is one of the first conventions where people are coming up to me specifically and saying, like, hey, I really like your content. Thank you. Normally it's like Katie, and then I'm the other guy. But this is the first one where people have been like, hey, I know you, thank you, And that's been really meaningful, because there are a lot of people who I think are being told that what they're good at isn't good and useful. And I was one of those kids. And so getting to see that I can be something to those kids is insanely meaningful.
That was really nice. Now I'm crying. No, I mean, so one of my weird things is when you have ADHD, you do a lot of jobs before you settle on something, or you never settle, and that's okay too. But my background is in like large-scale event management. I used to be the entertainment director at the Georgia Renaissance Festival, because why not? And so for me, like whenever I come to something like this, like I'm just always floored by the amount of work and time and effort that it takes to put something together. Like James has been emailing us for months, making sure that we're okay, and like when is our flight coming in, and can we get a car for you, and like all this different stuff. And so like whenever I'm here, like I'm just so grateful for all of the work and time and effort that goes into an event like this, because I used to do this for my job. And then just people show up, and people show up and you come and you enjoy the day. And I think it's just so, I know we keep talking about community, but I think it's so important for communities, and especially like in places like Watertown, where like this is the con, like it's so wonderful that you all showed up to support local artisans and local, businesses and all of that stuff. It's so important that you're all here, and that's my favorite part, is just knowing that there are people out here who think like me and like the same things as me and will show up and buy cool stuff from cool people. That's just amazing. So thank you all for being here.
You just gave me a core memory and I'm gonna cry, so thank you.
Okay, so what was your moment where you either did something for a video or not for a video, where you said, this could have gone wrong, but it didn't?
I'm gonna keep this age appropriate because you look like a small child. It's fine. The hat ages you up a little bit. But like I said earlier, one of the things that I really care about is talking about like relationships and intimacy and stuff like that. And so one time, as a joke, the first video that I ever made, I reached for the first thing that I saw, which was a fruit snack, and I said, and if you don't want to see this kind of content, grab a fruit snack on the way out. And now I'm so grateful that I did that, because like I talk about stuff that maybe not everybody wants to hear about, or is in a place where they can, or even are like, you know, they're on the bus and they don't want to like listen to like sex jokes next to somebody who didn't consent to that, and consent is vital, you know. And so one of the things that I think like wound up being really well is not only did I get to sort of like develop a community that's like, oh, it's like fruit snack content, but then also like allowing people the opt out is, I think, really important. And for me, it's a way of showing that I respect you whether or not you are like here for that kind of content. But I also realize like it could have gone really, really badly. And so I'm kind of glad now looking back that I was like, I'm glad I started with that so that I didn't have to like backtrack and like retcon it. That's my answer.
I try drilling holes through glass is always kind of dangerous. That's a dangerous one. But I mean, being a person who like makes stuff, who people watch make stuff, I try to not do anything too grossly dangerous, because like, you know, if I get hurt, I'm me, whatever. But like, I really don't want someone to watch that and go like, oh, that's proper bandsaw technique, and then cut off their hand. So I try to not do things that could go too terribly wrong. But honestly, generally, I think some of my favorite videos of my own are ones that could have gone right but didn't. You know, like the marshmallow gun, I didn't put enough duct tape on the pressure chamber, and it exploded. And it blew marshmallows all over Katie's house.
And all over me.
Twice.
Because we didn't get the shot the first time, so we had to blow it up twice.
That was the whole thing.
You gotta make a marshmallow grenade now.
I know, well, that was the comments were full of it. Stay tuned, I also have a cannon in the works that shoots actual marshmallow cannonballs this big. So yeah, I think honestly, that was a fun one. I like videos that could have gone right, but they went wrong. Because oftentimes, things going wrong is more interesting. I did actually almost fall off a very tall concrete structure because I needed a shot where I was running as fast as I could into frame from one side and then out of frame from the other side. And I lived in a city at the time, and the only area that was wide enough that I could get the shot was the top of this like concrete box outside the front of my apartment. So I had to get up to a full sprint by the time I entered the frame, and then maintain it through the frame, and then stop at about 5 feet. And I did, but I almost didn't. And for that reason, I'm here today. Be careful, everybody. It's not worth the shot, unless it is.
So I have kind of a two-pronged answer. The first one is more in general because of what I talk about, which is mostly comics. I get put into a very media-centric sphere. And for those of you who don't know, I am a aspiring lighting artist for video games. I was taught how to do lighting for like games and movies and VFX and that sort of thing. So media in general. And kind of the same way that Katie's was the one thing that I'm glad I did to start with so that it didn't end up turning wrong is that I don't talk about video games on my channel at all, even when there's superhero games that come out, specifically because I don't want to trip backwards and end up shutting down my ability to work for a company or something. Or anything along those lines. I intentionally don't talk about games, and I talk about movies very sparingly and usually very positively because I don't want something to backfire. That's my initial like safe answer. The less safe answer is I did a video that was the day after Jason Todd woke up from the grave, and one of the things that I did from those videos is that I had Jason Todd go into the city and like what his experience was out in reality, and I can't fake that from a dorm room, so I actually dressed as disheveled as I could and walked out into the city and started filming this skit where I was talking to myself the entire time, and that involved like digging around in a dumpster, or hanging out behind some buildings, or just generally being a nuisance in a town that has a lot of cops. So I was like, this might not be a great idea. I think I realized the moment that this could have gone very wrong as I was walking down an alleyway to get another shot and saw 2 cops coming my way and was like, oh shit. Are they here for me? But luckily they weren't, and I was able to go home after that, although I did get so many stares the entire time I was out.
I have always been like a bigger guy my entire life, and as someone who has dealt with a lot of comments about my weight, putting myself dancing on the internet, especially dancing shirtless on the internet, was not a comfortable step to make, but one that ultimately, from the comments I have received afterwards, something I'm glad I did, because there's been some really positive and really like heartwarming responses that I've gotten from people about that. But I think larger in general, just the type of videos that I make, I really didn't know that they were going to work at all. I didn't know if the D&D references would be accessible to a larger audience. I didn't know if they would mash up well with the musics that I was working on. I didn't know if people would follow the whole like skit aspect of it. So I really didn't know going into it that any of it would work. So I'm very grateful that it has all worked out so well.
I would say risking the income situation, taking the risk to let it be full time. I mean, it's still fresh. Things could still go very wrong. But for right now, just, accepting the risk of going into full-time content creation and understanding that that's a world that I think was literally built when TikTok created. It's very, very brand new, and jumping into that, it definitely could go wrong. But I think it was worth the risk. I mean, worth doing. It's really cool that it's created such an awesome, outlet for people. Totally brand new job.
So, I hate to say this is a little bit of a two-parter. So from some of you who follow me, I posted a video of what inspired me and what got me into making things. And where things could have gone wrong is, I would say, sometimes when you post something personal on the internet, there could be a lot of judgment between anything. And I posted a video that I expressed that my father was actually the one who introduced me in making things, and me showing my vulnerability. And one of the things that even Adam Savage even said was, when you show your vulnerability, you can get some pretty nasty people. And I, unfortunately, some background, I lost my father when I was 16. And when I showed my availability of that, I really, really was worried that I was going to get some backlash at that, honestly. Just because of the subject and everything. I mean, I'm a little choked up right now. And he's the one that actually helped introduce me to making things and helped me get into ideas and get into what I want to do and make things. And one thing he always said, he goes, if you want something, make it. And because you know what, over time, your skills are just going to develop into making things. And that has stuck with me from day one. And there was a time where I wanted to, that same exact 3D printer that's clockwork right there, I wanted to build and challenge myself on how to build a 3D. I had no idea how to build a 3D printer whatsoever. And I got to a point where I'm a mechanical engineer, and I built the mechanic, but I didn't know a lick of programming. And I could have blown this thing up by shorting up, and I could have lose power to the neighborhood because I short-circuited something. But what I will say is that it's how things can go wrong. I could have blown up their neighborhood, but how it could have gone right, I now have a 3D printer that I can say I built, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that I showed my vulnerability when I was doing TikTok and doing that video. So it's, yeah.
That was a great way to end this. So, guys, can we get a big round of applause for all the TikTok creators? Thank you so much for doing this.